Kate, when this is all unfolding in your life, when you two got married, your wedding vow said for richer, for poorer, for better, for worse, in sickness and in health. And so he's now not the man you've now married. He's nothing like the man that you've married. Just how did that take its toll on your marriage?
Yeah, I think I've really fulfilled those vows, I think. But yeah, life obviously has changed, and you know, Steve's a very different man. Still got the same sense of humour. Didn't lose that one. But yeah, it did take its toll. Steve actually ended up in rehab for quite a long time because he lost the ability to walk and to see. So he was in Caulfield rehab in a wheelchair, and anyway, he decided in his wisdom that he would plan this overseas tour with his band. Well, he can't walk and he can't see. So he spent his life going from a wheelchair from his bed to the payphone at Caulfield Rehab, because there it's pretty old there and you don't have phones next to your bed. So he'd be rolling himself down and book this tour overseas, and the nurses would ring and go, "Steve, you've got a call from America, come quick to the nurses station." So he decided to do this, and so he ended up going on it. He finally came home from hospital, and then off he goes overseas. So it really didn't give us much time to adapt to this, you know, to this disability that he was left with. So he goes on tour, and he's away for 3 months? Yeah, 3 months. And, you know, he was fine when he was on tour, but he came home really, really sick. And so that just really tore us apart, and we actually broke up for a few months. It just was too much. I couldn't handle anymore, and Steve was really struggling and really was, you know, had a breakdown. So we actually split, and I was 30 at that stage. It was my 30th birthday. It was terrible, but we really worked through that, and we did go to counselling. I don't know if the counselling actually worked, but we worked through it. And I remember reading a book called What's So Amazing About Grace. Don't know if any of you have read that, but it really helped me because I was so bitter, and yet I'd read this book and go, "Oh, thank you, Lord, for your grace. I've got to extend that to Steve." So we ended up getting back together again, and we decided that we'd start the whole dating process again, and we decided to renew our wedding vows, which is the picture you've seen. Oh no, the picture's up there. Picture's seeing there. And it was our 15th wedding anniversary, and it was Steve's 40th as well. So we decided we'd renew our wedding vows, and we actually got a guy called Ben Price, who's a comedian, to officiate this renewing of vows, and he actually came as Basil Fawlty. And the whole point of the night it wasn't to make a mockery of vows, but it was to say, if you can't laugh your way through life and with your marriage, with all the ups and downs, you're not going to get through. So we did it in jeans, and we exchanged necklaces, and we said that we agreed to hang out with each other for the rest of our lives, and that was the night. So, you know, God's restored our marriage, and I think from all the statistics that most marriages don't survive this sort of thing. So to God's glory, you know, we're together and, more in love than before. So it's good.
Yeah, 9 out of 10 leukemia survivors divorce, and 9 out of 10 couples who have a child with leukemia divorce. That's the stats. And the interesting thing about renewing our wedding vows at 15 years, we've now been married just over 20 years. Well, 20 years as of the 1st of December last year. And but we extended everything. It was so funny because we had a comedian marry us, but we were just renewing our vows. We were already married. But, you know, for better or for worse, went on for about 25 lines, and for richer, for poorer went on for about 25 lines. In sickness or in health went on for about 35 lines, you know. So there was 100 of our friends, everyone was roaring, laughing. But we said, look, you know, this is the way that you've got to view marriage, because if you're a Christian, you get married as for life. It's, you know, it's so easy to say, I do, but do you, you know? And Jesus, when he was on the way to the cross, he said, in this life you will have trouble. And, you know, there are many people out there, and probably people in this congregation, who live to work. I lived to work. What we need to do is we need to work to live. We need 8 hours sleep, 8 hours work, 8 hours recreation. And, you know, I was burning the candle at both ends. I was busy. I was so busy doing God's work that I wasn't spending enough time with God. And one of the amazing things for me was that in my lowest point after the transplant, when I came home and I was so unbelievably ill, I sat on the couch, and for the first time, as for whenever I could remember, there was silence, and I heard the birds sing. I'd actually stopped, and I didn't even pray. I was just there with God. So if I can leave, if you don't remember anything else from tonight, don't live to work, work to live. And find time just to be with God. It takes me 4 hours every morning to actually be ready for the day. 4 to 5 hours. I still do a lot of weight training and exercise bike to keep myself walking and as healthy as I possibly can. And so there's a long time, and there's 1 hour in that where I do medical thing, and I've got nothing to do but this medical thing, and God's got a captive audience. So I do read the Word and I do pray, but sometimes I just sit there and I just be with God. And can we in our busy life find the time to do that? I mean, I live in a noisy world because I play very noisy music. You know, Pastor Jim will tell you that. But we need to find that divine silence in our life, that time where you don't, seriously, try not praying, try just being with God. Because when I was sitting there and there was silence and all I could hear was the birds, I was just with God. It was amazing. And that was another amazing experience along with the one that I had before with the angel visitation.
That's great. That's wonderful. And perhaps just with our final words, and that was a really good summary there, Steve, but perhaps, Kate, what would you say to people that are going through just tough things in life, like left field, things that, you know, when you were getting married, you pictured, you know, your house, children, all of that, but it didn't turn out that way. And so what would you say to everyone now that's, you know, your life had to change? It wasn't a choice, it had to change. So what advice would you give to people in pressing through and pushing through?
I suppose the biggest thing I learnt was not to lean on my own understanding. I think as women we try to work everything out. We want, you know, we think this goes with this, you know, if we do this, this will fix that. And I had to learn to just sit back and trust in God. His ways are higher than our ways. You know, we're humans, we don't understand a lot of what happens in our life, and not all bad things, you know, what we think is bad is not always bad. God can work through anything and he will be glorified. So don't lean on your own understanding. Don't try to work things out, just trust in God.
That's great. That's great. And Steve, your body today is a result purely of the treatment of leukemia. It wasn't the leukemia that did this to you. It was actually the treatment that went in that's left you the way you are.
Yeah, the combination of chemotherapy and radiation and spinal fluid cancer, leukoencephalopathy or whatever they call it. It's been the breakdown of the body. The combination of all that, because I always see the glasses half full. Like I have 50% of my eyesight and 44% of my kidney function. I think I said that before. And one thing that I can encourage you people as a church is that if people with physical disabilities come into the church, don't see them as a disability. I'm a very whole person. And, you know, it's really sad. I went to a rock concert a couple of months ago with a non-Christian friend of mine. I was walking out and we'd had a great time, and we're in Festival Hall. Festival Hall was packed with 6,000 people, and we were talking about how great the concert was. And my legs were a little bit tired. I'd been sitting down for 3 hours, so I was on my cane and I was walking along the rail with my other hand. And there was this man standing in the way, and I thought, gee, this man's looking at me quite rudely. And I thought, I'm going to have to walk around him because he's not going to move. And as I walked past him, he said, you need to throw away that cane and go and follow God. And this has happened to me a number of times, like out on the streets and everything. And I say to my son Leighton, I say, I will know if it's God's time to heal me. It's not going to be up the front of a church. I mean, I spend a lot of time with God in the morning, but I'm going to wake up in the morning, get out of bed. All the medical things are going to be obviously gone. I'm going to run around the block, come home. My body's actually going to work. My body does not function. And praise the Lord, I still have a very, very, very good-looking face. Actually, I'm exactly the same age as Pastor Jim. So we're very, very young for our 45 years of age. Jim and I are very good-looking people.
That's wonderful. Steve and Kate, really thank you for coming tonight and sharing your story, and be great. These are the most just interesting couple, and Steve loves a chat. I love a chat. Steve loves a chat, and poor Kate the other night was going to go to bed and leave us to it, but then I went as well. But if you love to chat with Steve and Kate at any time, I'm sure they'd love to share with you and talk with you and just sharing part of their story. So can we just thank them for coming and sharing their story tonight? Yeah, that's great. Thank you.